Welcome back to the show. First and foremost, the Chalk family, let me say this clearly. We hope this family is found safe. This is the priority. This is what matters certainly the most. But today's commentary is not about specifically the investigation and what is or hasn't been done. It's about leadership. That's right. You can imagine that. It's about leadership. It's about rhetoric. It's about the kind of public conduct that either builds trust or destroys it. At the very moment you need the public the most, because here's the reality: law enforcement can't solve major crisis or even these type of cases alone, especially cases like this one. They need tips, they need witnesses, they need cooperation, and we certainly need the communities willing to pick up the phone, step forward, and to say, I saw something. Now, that doesn't always mean that they're going to have something that's credible, but certainly we know in some of these communities like this, especially when you're dealing with illegal immigrants and they're not here, there's all types of things that go on. Listen, there's domestic cases, child abuses, sexual, physical abuses that are going on. And, those cases need to be reported. But these people are not going to report them type of cases if they feel like they're going to be ostracized, publicized, or ridiculed, mocked, or even deported. And, there has to be some type of professionalism where we need these people to come out of the shadows and to report these type of crimes, especially in the Chalk family, that, guys, we can use and certainly help to solve that particular case. But think about the sexual exploitation. Some of these predators know that they can do the things they want to do because the women, the wives, the girlfriends, they're not going to come out of the shadows for fear of being deported. And yes, law enforcement has a job to do, and we should do that job. But it should not only be about deportation. It should be about bringing these folks out of the shadows. It's about trying to fix the problems within this community and try to find a way, as the sheriff offered before, these U visas are people that's been the victims of violent crimes, sexual crimes. It can't just be all antics of playing up to the community that, hey, we're going to take them all to jail. There were real crimes. There were real families being affected, and these things are important. You always heard me say, when you see something, say something. It doesn't always mean that what you have to offer is going to offer, but it's apparent that we need this public's help. We need the family's help. We need the neighbors' help. And that only happens when trust exists. And now that we're talking about trust, let's play the video.
I want to speak about the missing Chalk family and our ongoing investigation. I want to directly address those in the Spanish-speaking community and let you know this case is about finding this family, not focusing on your immigration status. We're looking for any witnesses.
Deputies say the man on the ground in this video resisted arrest after a traffic stop Tuesday morning on Dauphin Island Parkway.
Yes, we can enforce immigration laws, and we should enforce immigration laws, but there's a way to do it that's humane. There's a way to do it with dignity, keeping families intact, and making sure that we're protecting those that are the most vulnerable, especially the children. It doesn't matter if they're illegal immigrants or not. There are children at play, children involved here. And when you are the executive law enforcement leader in the county, your words carry weight, your actions carry weight, your tone carries weight. And you don't get to separate your public persona from your professional responsibilities. Listen, if leaders don't understand how rhetoric impacts community cooperation, then they have fundamentally either misunderstood or don't care about what modern policing is. This is not the 1800s anymore. If communities feel mocked, targeted, or certainly alienated, they don't engage, they withdraw. And if they withdraw, a lot of times we don't get to solve these crimes. Let me tell you, the sheriff gets up here and he offers this U visas. But then when you see the rhetoric, you see all the things that's been done, who is going to come forward? This is why real leaders should not be involved in type of rhetoric and the conduct that this particular sheriff has done. It does not build trust. It builds bias. It builds discontent, disrespect. And, we can enforce the law. You've heard me talk about Thug Thursday and, why the sheriff's office feel like they need to ridicule or mock those that have a drug addiction, those that have been offenders of crime, not only property crimes, but they've made victims out of real people in our community. And yes, we should hold them accountable. We should hold them to what the law says. Make it very clear, law enforcement without empathy is tyranny. And when law enforcement officers get into this rhetoric that they can mock or ridicule, that is nothing more but 8th grade material. And it may be funny to some people, I would imagine, but remember this, drug addiction, drugs, alcohol addiction, all of these affect everybody's family. Now, there's not one family that's immune to that. And when the type of public leaders we have do those type of things to the people in our community, irrespective if they've broken the law, it may be funny on one end, but you think about this. What happens if it's you? What happens if it's one of your family members? God forbid, one of your children, your grandchildren, your loved one, your aunt, uncle, daddy, whoever. Then it's not funny anymore. And let me just simply say this. We may like an individual for many, many reasons, but does that mean they're qualified to lead in a public office? No. The hardest things I think most of us really can do in society is separate the fact that, I like a person, but they shouldn't hold public office. And there is a distinction there. And unfortunately, we live in a society where if somebody likes you, well, by God, especially if they're benefiting from it, we see that with the automobile politics, then it doesn't really matter what that political leader does until it affects you. And that can be very problematic, in my opinion. If we want communities to trust and work with law enforcement leaders, listen, then the leaders must be approachable, professional, and measured, and certainly have the appearance that they're not biased. Put up a screenshot of Mitch McConnell. And I want you to show the clip arguing with the judges. And now we're going to look at some clips where the comments that were made about the constituents in Pritchard. And then we're going to look of how we've even argued with some of our colleagues that are in the same business. And these things are important, right? Because this is the same leader that in many political arenas and events and small groups has told people, I can't get along with people. Essentially regurgitating some of the talking points from Sandy Stimpson and James Barber's hit job, with the Kenya Brown piece. And that's fine. That's what they're going to do. And I mean, it is what it is. Go for it. This other or last screenshot is an employee, a public employee, with the Mobile County Sheriff's Office. And this is important because while she's a public employee, she works for the sheriff. And when I talk about the tail follows the head, this is another example of how this particular individual has certainly railed against me. She does not know me personally, knows absolutely nothing about me, but just being nasty and being ugly. And while that's fine, I mean, this is politics, right? But let's not forget, politics is made up of people and people's behavior. And this person is an employee, and she did this on her known, not a burner account, but her real profile on Facebook. Not put a stop to that. And the sheriff has not put a stop to that because he condones it, because he does it. And these things are important because the tail always follows the head. Now, you're going to say, well, you're a little soft-hearted. No, absolutely not. I'm actually just the opposite. 30 years of law enforcement has a way of making people really callous. I'm just trying to convey a point that if we want real leaders, the employees are going to follow that leader. And when you have an employee doing the same type of rhetoric, saying the same things, doing the same things, and they think it's cute, they think it's funny because they're only appealing to a small group of people, probably to the far, far right, that doesn't resonate with most of us. In fact, I think it really shows that the leader refuses to put a stop to that type of thing simply because, well, he may approve of it, and he approves of it because that's exactly what he does, and I've shown it to you. It's these moments that the same sheriff who has been at the tip of the spear with some of these public actions or comments now need the same community, certainly in the Chalk family's case, to come forward to help solve the case. But meanwhile, you've been involved in these Halloween antics and all these other things. This is why leaders have to be able to have the foresight and the wherewithal and the capacity to understand while some of the things that we say really do matter in the community. The Halloween antics was terrible. It shows that you're biased, and you say, well, Paul, you're just drilling and narrowing that you're just nailing that into the coffin. Well, you're absolutely right, I am. I'm doing that because now we're in a position where apparently they have absolutely nothing at the sheriff's office with this investigation to solve this crime. Now, we can prove that somebody kidnapped them or at least have enough probable cause to arrest an individual for kidnapping, but we don't have anything else in the case. I find that problematic. I find that to be a huge problem. And now we're wanting to offer up a visa through the federal government for some of these folks in this particular community to come forward and give us information. This is why leaders have to be careful what they say, why they should lead, and why they should live their life above reproach as best they can. 1894, through the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, the federal government formally established the Office of Community-Oriented Policing, or the COPS program that you've heard. And virtually over the last 30 years, every law enforcement agency, not only locally, but in the county, certainly the country, has tried to implement some type of program to bridge gaps and to bridge communities together with law enforcement, really for several reasons. Because trust solves cases, partnerships prevent crime, and certainly professionalism strengthens legitimacy. Today isn't to be accusatory, though I know some of you will say that it is. It's really meant to just highlight a simple truth. Professional conduct starts at the top of any law enforcement agency. Leadership sets the tone. If you've been watching any of these podcasts and you still don't agree, then with all due respect to you, then maybe our politicians really aren't the problem because we're the ones that vote them in. You may personally like someone and think that it's okay for what they're doing. That's your right. You can like whatever you want, vote for whoever you want to. That's the beauty of this country. But liking someone does not mean they are qualified to lead. If you believe this type of rhetoric or behavior is justified from the law enforcement executive leader that leads the county, with all due respect to you, I'm probably not your guy for this particular race. I believe there are small vocal groups who cheer on this type of conduct, and those people do not represent the vast majority of citizens or voters who own businesses, who are professionals, business owners, and certainly those that live, work, and play in our community. Leadership should not divide its community. It should bring us together. And yet it seems that's exactly what this particular leader has been doing, and that's dividing us. This case needs to be solved. We're asking for your help. I urge every member, especially in that community, to work with the sheriff's office. If you have any information, get it to the sheriff's department. Let's help bring this case to a resolution, certainly for the Chalk family. And our prayers hope that the best is yet to come with it. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about politics. It's about people. It's about their families, and it's about trying to bring safety back to the community. It's about whether or not leadership builds bridges or if they burn them down. My friends, thank you again for coming to the program. We appreciate everything, and we'll see you again on the next episode. Have a good day.